You're all set.
Mike says he's in.
He's a ghost.
No, but I think Chris can promote him to a panelist. Can you find Mike, Chris? Oh, here we go.
Okay, we'll do the pledge and I'll get, I'll take the notes.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Tiverton Town Council meeting of September 28th, 2020. We'll start by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Well, I guess I'll take the roll. Councillor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Driggs.
Present.
Councillor Edwards.
Present.
Councillor Perry.
Present.
Councillor Cook.
Present.
And obviously I'm present. Also with us is, of course, our town administrator, Chris Cotta, Solicitor Mike Marcello. Councillor DeMedeiros has noted that she's got a small family thing to sort out. She'll be here as soon as she can. But we'll go ahead and get started. Beginning with the consent agenda, item A, approval of town council minutes, the September 14, 2020 regular session. Councillor Perry abstains, absent. Item B, acknowledge receipt of minutes from boards and commissions, 3 sets of minutes from the Board of Canvassers. Item C, acknowledge receipt of reports, Treasurer's Office, update financial status as of August. And number 2, Jennifer Siciliano, Town Planner and Administrative Officer, report of activities of Planning Department and Planning Board for August 2020. And finally, item D, acknowledge receipt of correspondence. 1, Town of Warren, resolution relating to state assistance during the COVID-19 emergency. 2, the Town of Charlestown, resolution relating to state assistance during the COVID-19 emergency. 3, the Town of Barrington, resolution relating to state assistance during the COVID-19 emergency. And 4, the Town of Barrington, resolution in support of urging the state of Rhode Island to allocate at least 10% of its $1.5 billion in federal CARES Act funds to establish a grant program for small businesses impacted by COVID-19. Would anyone like to remove any items from the consent agenda?
Trish,
Yeah.
I only noticed on our minutes for a regular meeting that there was an edit on page 3 where it
Okay.
says.
So you would like to remove the item A, the minutes?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then anyone else? I would like to remove item D1, the Town of Warren resolution. Do I have a motion then to approve the rest of the consent agenda? John,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Councillor Clark,
Yes.
Councillor Driggs,
Yes.
Councillor Edwards,
Yes.
Councillor DeMedeiros,
Yes.
Councillor Perry,
Yes.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So Donna, you wanted to correct something in the town council minutes?
Yeah, it's just a little edit on page 3 with the bottom where it says Councillor Cook. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4th sentence. Inability to amend the loan. It says load, so it should have been an N instead of a D.
Okay. I'm sure the clerk
yeah.
can make that, amend the minutes to make that.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Denise?
Nope, nothing.
No, I know your computer's making that noise again now for some reason tonight.
All right.
Can you turn it down just a little?
Eesh.
Oh, it feels like a Band-Aid's being ripped off.
I wanted to mention the resolutions regarding state assistance and to see whether or not I would like to note that I'd like to put this, a similar resolution on the agenda for the next meeting. A number of other municipalities have done this. You know, we are all struggling covering the costs of the COVID emergency. FEMA is reimbursing less and less of what was originally promised. So I'd just like to note that I will be putting a similar resolution on the agenda for our next meeting. We sometimes see these resolutions from other communities, and sometimes it's good to follow their lead. So other than that, do I have a motion to approve the town council minutes as amended and item D1, John?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Clark,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
yes,
Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes,
Counselor DiMederos, and I am also a yes. I don't believe that we've received any public comments. I haven't seen any, just to confirm that with the clerk.
Yes, there were no comments as of 4 o'clock today.
Okay, which brings us to appointments and resignations. We have one this evening, the Juvenile Hearing Board, which is a 5-member board with 3-year terms. There's one vacancy, and we have one applicant, Melissa Quinlan of 25 Garden Avenue. Madam Clerk, is Ms. Quinlan here?
Yes.
I'm here.
Oh, awesome. Melissa, thank you and welcome. So our usual policy when someone is applying is just to ask them to let us know a little bit about themselves and their interest in the Juvenile Hearing Board, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Let me see. Let me just start with, I moved here about 3 years ago and really wanted to become part of the community. So I've been trying to get in and every little piece that I can. I have pretty much an extensive background with mentoring through the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. I spent 9 years with one boy who was developmentally disabled and was in and out of trouble. So I was often called to be his voice. And now that he's grown up, I don't do that anymore. I have a child with autism, so I am used to behavioral issues. And I grew up with a stepmother who was on the juvenile board in Middletown. So I'm kind of familiar with the work that they did. And I would like to help Tiverton with that.
That's great. It sounds like you're very qualified. Do any council members have any questions for Ms. Quinlan? No questions? I think your qualifications are wonderful.
Thank you.
Counselor Driggs?
I would just like to say, Melissa, as an attorney who spent the majority of my practice at DSS doing juvenile issues and child abuse and neglect, I think it sounds like what your experience would be very, very helpful.
Oh, I'm glad you feel that way. Thank you.
Our normal policy when we interview a candidate is that we interview one meeting and then we appoint the next, but we only have one candidate and who seems quite qualified for one position. So Counselor DiMederos?
Melissa was on the agenda last week, and so I would like to make a motion to not withhold our policy.
To waive our policy?
To waive our policy, yeah, thanks, Trish.
what'd you say?
I'll
Withhold?
second that.
I don't-
Okay, there's a motion and a second to waive the policy so we could go ahead with the appointment tonight. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Clark?
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos? Counselor Perry?
yes,
Counselor Driggs?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes,
And I am also a yes. So do I have a motion to appoint Melissa Quinlan? Denise?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Melissa Quinlan to the juvenile of 25 Garden Avenue to the Juvenile Hearing Board, which expires 10/15/23.
second,
Second.
Second, Counselor Driggs,
Yeah.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos, Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So congratulations and thank you very much for applying, Melissa. And I'm sure that the Juvenile Hearing Board will be happy to see you. Counselor,
Like-
Well, thank you for your time.
pardon?
Thank you for your time.
He said, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. Steve, were you saying something?
Yeah, did you get a complete roll call on that? I don't believe I was called.
Oh, I thought I did. I'm sorry, Steve. Would you like to vote?
Yes, I would.
Okay, what would you like to vote? Yes, okay. Sorry about that. Sometimes with Zoom, I get confused as to who I've called on.
I'll try
Okay.
to stay in one place.
Thank you. When you guys move around and then sometimes the screen moves around and I'm like, ooh, did I miss somebody? Okay, moving on to the council role as a Board of Licensing. We have our first, which is an advertised public hearing, a request from Jim Long of the Sports Kitchen LLC, 300 Industrial Way, Tiverton, requesting approval for a BV liquor and entertainment licenses subject to meeting all legal requirements. I don't know, is Mr. Long with us this evening?
Yes, he is. He's coming on now.
Okay.
Jim, can you hear us?
Hi again.
Jim, can you hear us?
Name's up.
Guys, can you hear me?
Now we can. So Jim, you are applying for both evictualling and entertainment and BV liquor license, yes? So, Madam Clerk, I do have one question for you. The BV liquor and entertainment license can all be in one application?
Yes, the application puts all three now, but this part has to be public hearing.
Okay.
And his other requests. This has to be subject to meeting legal requirements because he doesn't have a CO and I don't know whether it's completed or not.
Okay. So the application technically wouldn't, or the license technically wouldn't be granted until the CO is granted.
Right. In fact, you granted it 2 years ago and it wasn't ever issued.
Okay. Do any counselors have questions for Mr. Long?
Let's go down my assignments.
Nancy, what did you say he doesn't have?
He doesn't have a CO.
What happened
Is
to our
Bill
voice?
Moore on?
All right.
And
Mike, you're muted, Mike.
We can hear Mr. Long. I just want to know that we can hear him.
Yes. Jim, can you hear us?
Jim,
Jim, can you hear us? Jim, can you hear us?
Jim, you're muted.
I just want to know that we can hear him.
You can hear us?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, Jim, can you hear us?
I can just now.
Okay. Jim, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
all right, so Bill Moore is on as well.
Jim, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Jim, you're muted.
I just want to know that we can hear him.
Hold on. You can hear us? Yes.
Jim, can you hear us?
I can just now.
Okay.
So
Jim,
Jim,
can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
he's on YouTube videos.
So Bill Moore is on as well.
Jim, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Jim, you're muted.
Hold on.
You can hear us? Yes. Jim, can you hear us?
I can just now.
Okay. So, Jim, can you hear us?
It's like Saturday Night Live. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can fix it.
Get on it.
I think he's on something else.
Join
guys.
Zoom on my phone. Okay.
Yeah, he's on two things. We're getting an echo, so he needs to shut one
Yeah.
off.
Oh, my goodness.
If you guys can hear me, I'm going on my phone.
Okay, so,
Good.
so stay on just one device. I think because you had two devices on, we were getting an echo and a repeat. So if you just stay on one device, we should be okay.
Did you just hear President?
He's not hearing us. I'm gonna,
He's on a delay, I think, because he's watching over the YouTube.
okay, so I'm gonna try, his phone number's on the application, so let me try calling here.
Jess, don't ever let this happen, man. This is what I use, like, try it, call people.
I'm gonna try
I
calling.
can
his
hear
cell phone.
him though. Can you hear him?
I can hear him.
Jim, this is.
Donovan
tricky.
is Saturday Night Live.
I know.
We can hear you, but do you have this on two devices? Meaning, are you watching this on YouTube and on Zoom?
I just went on my phone to actually make it work because I can't get the computer to work.
Okay, so I think it's working now. Hang on one second, just stay.
Okay.
All right, whatever's happening right now is working. Let me try hanging up my phone and seeing if you are still on.
Jim, can
Zoom
you
with
hear us?
Okay.
Jim, can you hear me now?
us?
No.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna go, that was working, so I'm gonna try it again.
Sound went out.
He needs to put.
Can
it
you guys
into the
hear me?
computer. Yes. Can you
Yes.
hear us?
But I can't hear you.
I'm going back to whatever we had because you guys could all hear the phone conversation, correct? We were having,
Hi there.
okay. I don't know why this is not working. I'm not sure, but this seems to work if I call you on the phone because then we can hear you and you can
Okay.
hear us, correct?
Correct. I can
Is-
hear you and I can see you guys talking.
Okay, we're gonna,
Trish, is his volume up on his computer?
is your volume up on your computer?
Yes, we tried that. It's at 100.
So
I would turn that off or turn that.
off.
So Trish, I think we're gonna have another problem. I think he can only hear you. So let me call him and put him on speaker and then he can hear everybody.
Okay, Jim?
Yes.
The town administrator is going to call you on his phone and put you on speaker. And that way
Okay.
we'll all be able to hear you, okay? So
Okay.
Anson, I'm going to call you now.
Okay, thanks.
I cannot wait till we're all together in a room.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Jim. I can hear you. I'm gonna have a couple of people ask some questions and see if you can hear them.
Okay.
Denise, can you say something?
Jim, can you hear me?
Yes, Denise, I can hear you.
Okay, we're all set.
Okay.
So now just keep on your phone and we'll get through this
Okay.
without issue.
Okay.
right.
Now, do any counselors have any questions for Mr. Long about his application for the BV liquor and entertainment licenses? Counselor Drakes.
I don't know if I have a question for Mr. Long or Nancy Mello, but somebody indicated that he had the same issue of not having a CO 2 years ago. And I'm wondering, does he have it now?
So Bill Moore is on the line too. So Bill?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Bill.
Great. So Jim is well into constructing the restaurant on the second floor with his gym and arcade. So this is in preparation, I believe, for when he does get his CO, that he'll be ready to go. Is that right, Jim?
Yes, that's correct. I understand why everyone's asking, because technically I applied for this 2 years ago, and it's taken forever. I am probably 30 days away from it actually looking at the restaurant. I won't physically be open in about 60 days, but we are very close to finishing the project.
Excellent. Counselor DiMedeiros had a question. Denise?
Muted.
You're
Oh
muted,
my
Denise.
goodness.
There we
Now
I
go.
can't hear you guys at all.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, but I'm not, I can't, hello?
Can you hear? We can hear you, Denise.
Do you have a question?
So Denise, you can't hear us at all?
Guys,
So,
I can't hear you at all.
Yeah.
Let me
Turn your volume up.
try something. Let me try something. All right, someone talk to me.
can you hear us now, Denise?
Yep, now I can. I
Okay.
didn't have a question. I just wanted to tell you I couldn't hear a thing.
So,
Okay.
so what Jim was saying, he's done with his CO part, I think for the very first floor, he's almost completed with that. He's working on the restaurant on the second floor. He hopes to open within 60 days. He's very close to having it done. And he's looking forward to having at least the paperwork on his licensing so they can proceed forward.
Jim, it's about time. I've been with you since the very beginning, and congratulations.
Yes, you have. It's been a very long ride, and actually everyone stuck it together, so we're gonna get there.
Yes, we all did. We all did, Jim, including you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Jim, I do have one question for you. In terms of the type of entertainment, it says band, singing, karaoke. And your planned hours of operation for the entertainment and the liquor license is from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m.
So
Sunday through Saturday.
The license was gonna go till 1 o'clock. The entertainment is 12 is fine, but the liquor was gonna go till 1 o'clock.
And I just want to ask Nancy, did we ask the police chief regarding his thoughts on, a 1 o'clock liquor license?
I'm sure it was forwarded to him. Donna does the licenses, but I'm sure I will check with him tomorrow, but I'm sure it was forwarded. All our liquor licenses, things like that, we forward copies to the police department.
Okay.
Isn't
Denise?
it per ordinance, they can stay till 1 o'clock?
Where does it say that?
I think it's in the ordinance. Nancy, am I right? The
Well,
liquor-
you have the authority to restrict any license. If he's asking for a certain time, that's what you give it to them to.
What does the casino have?
24, I think.
24 hours.
No, not 24 hour liquor, no.
Oh, they go to, yeah, but they go to like, I don't know what it is. It's only a few hours
Well,
that
I
they can have it.
remember this became an issue, and that's why we extended hours to 1 o'clock, but with other businesses in Tiverton, but I might be wrong.
I think the liquor license goes under the guidance of what the applicant is applying for. If he only applied for it to go till 10 o'clock, that's what I'm going to type on that license, that the liquor is until 10. So if he wants to go to 1, that's what we'll put on the license, if that's what the council approves.
There is a time frame for the entertainment license. I don't see
anything for the liquor.
Anything for the liquor license.
Okay.
So how do you prove something when there's no information on the liquor, when it starts and when it ends?
Once you go to I'm looking it up while you guys are talking. If you want to go to the public hearing part of it, you can do that.
I'm looking it up too, because I remember this coming up.
Okay. While this is being looked up, are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this? This is a public hearing, so are there any members of the public who would like to comment?
So I'm looking in the waiting room. Does anybody in the waiting room that wants to speak, please raise your hand. I'll ask again, there are 7 people in the waiting room. Anybody who would like to speak on this topic, please raise your hand. And I'll ask one last time, anybody who is in the waiting room who would like to speak, please raise your hand. And if you are watching this and would like to speak, there is posted on the town's agenda for this is the Zoom meeting information. You can actually call in and raise your hand as well. So I'll give it a minute or so to see if somebody wants to call in.
So, Madam, members of the council, a Class B through C license in the town of Tiverton shall allow liquor service as consistent with the Rhode Island general laws for the following hours: 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., Monday through Thursday, and on Saturdays, not before state or federal holidays, and from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays before state or federal holidays.
Yes, I'm looking at the same thing, and this all came, we extended these hours because of the casino and because of their advanced hours. And I'm looking at the same thing, Mike, and it's what I said. We did put it in an ordinance.
If there's nothing on the application, you default back to the ordinance. You could limit it if you wanted to, but it's up to you.
Right, but I just wanted to know what the ordinance stated, and I remember changing the times because it was originally 12, and when we let the casino stay later, businesses came to us and objected, and they wanted to stay a little later. So that's when we changed it to 1 a.m.
Yeah. So I do have one question for Jim. You're planning on serving food until what time? I guess I just sort of want to know what time the food service goes to versus what time pardon, Jim?
It'll also go to 1 a.m.
Okay, so you'll essentially have food the entire time then also. Okay. Does anyone else have a question for Mr. Long? No. In that case, we have no public comments, so I will close the public hearing. Denise?
I'd like to make a motion to grant Jim Long Sports Kitchen LLC, 300 Industrial Way, Tiverton, Rhode Island. Request approval for BV liquor and entertainment license, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Second.
There's a second. Counselor Clark?
Yes.
Counselor Driggs?
Yes.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Perry?
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So moving on to the second item, this is a non-advertised license, Jim Long Sports Kitchen LLC, 300 Industrial Way, Tiverton. Requests approval for victualling license subject to meeting all legal requirements. Madam Clerk, I'm assuming that the CO is also a legal requirement that needs to be fulfilled. Are there any other legal requirements that are outstanding on this application?
No, but I can't do anything till Mr. Moore signs off.
Okay, understood. In that case, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Long about his victualling license?
I do
Nancy?
have one more comment. So I will wait for Mr. Long to sign off on these, but I mean for Mr. Moore. But Mr. Long did just mention that he had applied 2 years ago. He also paid the fee 2 years ago, the $800 for the liquor license. Now I had to re-advertise and all, and that's a cost to him because he was not prepared to go through at that time. But I just want council to realize I will be not charging, or unless you tell me to, I'll be waiving the fee for this because he paid it 2 years ago and never got a license. He got it granted but not issued.
Okay.
Just so
I think that's fair, Nancy.
I think that seems pretty fair, other than to cover the cost of the advertising.
right, once I advertise, we can't pay for it. He's got to. But
There you go. In that case, if there are no other questions, do I have a motion? Denise? Oh, we can't hear you, Denise. You're muted.
I'm trying not to
Chris
show
is
the,
doing it.
the Velcro effect. I'd like to grant Jim Long Sports Kitchen LLC, 300 Industrial Way, Tiverton, Rhode Island, approval for the Victoring license, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Clark,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Jim, good luck with it. We're all looking forward to your being fully opened.
Hey, Jim, I'm looking forward to Patricia Hilton doing karaoke.
Probably not.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Okay, we have one more non-advertised license, which is Amanat Ali Paradise Smoke Shop, 58 Main Road, Tiverton, requests approval for a holiday and tobacco license, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Okay, so
Madam Clerk, I believe that this application looks to be fully in order, correct?
Yes, and the police department has put their recommendation.
Okay, in that case, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Clark,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. Moving on to general business, item A, Counselor Cook, presentation update by Benjamin Goach. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah.
Coastal Resources Management Council, Aquaculture Coordinator on the CRMC Aquaculture Permit Process and Memorandum of Understanding. Counselor Cook?
Mike, do you know if Ben's here yet?
Yes,
Yes.
The goat? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I told everyone that I would keep the council updated, and we actually were supposed to meet with the CRMC in March, but everything was shut down by COVID. In the meantime, there was a change of command at the CRMC, and Mr. Goach is now the new aquaculture coordinator, and he was kind enough to say that he would come and speak to us. And I'm also interested in the memorandum of understanding. I made sure, I hope you all have a copy of that. I had it sent out. Oh, you don't have it?
I don't have
Jeannie
it.
Big emailed it out this afternoon to everyone.
Okay. Well, I
yes.
don't think you want me to read it. I mean, you've seen it before. I just wanted it to be here as a resource for you. I'm hoping that we can do this. We'll ask Mr. Gage what we can do about it. I welcome Mr. Gage to the town council and can speak to us on the permitting process and what his vision is, and also what the MOU and what we can do with the status of that. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
We can. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Great. Excellent. Yeah, so my name is Benjamin Getch, and I am the new aquaculture coordinator for the state of Rhode Island. I started back in May, and I replaced David Butel, who had been in the position for about 10 years. My main function is to oversee and coordinate the permitting of aquaculture farms in the state. And that's all forms of aquaculture, but primarily in the state of Rhode Island, we have oyster farms. So that is the most usual application that we will get. I'm also responsible under a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Environmental Management for inspecting these farms at least annually. So I'm on the water fairly often, inspecting the farms throughout the state. There are about currently 83 farms in the state of Rhode Island, and about 53, 55 individual businesses operate those 83 farms. So some farms have more than one site. So yeah, so I was in contact with Donna, and she asked me to come and speak with you guys about the application process. We had a couple applications earlier in the year that were for waters in Tiverton, and most of those, there was one in particular that got a lot of attention. That was the one in Nanaquacket Pond. That was a commercial viability application, so it was very limited, kind of experimental permit, but the applicant did withdraw that application based on feedback, from the town, as through the review process early on. Other than that, I think there's maybe only one other farm in Tiverton currently, just south of Jack's Island in the Secana River. And there's another farm pending currently under review near the Sepauwett EM access area, in that area. So I did bring, I wanted to just go over just the kind of a broad level, bird's eye view of our permitting process, just to give you guys an idea of what's entailed. And I was going to hopefully share my screen. Let's see if that will work. Share. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is also on the CRMC website. This is kind of a flow chart of what's involved in an application for aquaculture. CRMC is the lead agency throughout this process. We are the ones that issue a lease and permit the operation, but there are a lot involved that goes into that before we get to an approved farm. So you can see here, and I'm going to go through this in more detail where it might be relevant to the town in the audience here tonight. There's obviously a lot here to unpack, but I'm going to give you the quick overview. So it starts with the preliminary determination that is statutorily required, or sorry, it's not statutorily required, but it's required in our regulations as a prerequisite to a full application. So that initial meeting, usually it's a meeting traditionally was held in the town of the application, where the closest coastal municipality would be. Of course, now it's all done via Zoom, but you can see there the first in the list there is initial review with the town. Usually this meeting is held with hosted by the town. Sometimes it's hosted by CRMC, U.S. Coast Guard, DEM, Army Corps of Engineers, and various non-governmental agencies and fishing groups. These include, the Saltwater Anglers Association, the Rhode Island Shell Fishermen's Association, sometimes Save the Bay, the Nature Conservancy, Audubon. It can really run the gamut of who's wanting to weigh in on this. The biggest challenge at this level is identifying all the potential stakeholders, because we want to bring them in. We want to bring them all in for this preliminary review. So during this time, we talk about the application. That the applicant is there. It's really a kind of a staff meeting type. It's not a public meeting. It's just kind of administrative. But really, all the groups, all the stakeholders want to weigh in on the application, what their concerns are. Importantly, if there are recommendations to make the application better, it's very welcomed from all groups. And all those recommendations and concerns will be compiled into a report. As you can see, it says recommendations to the applicant. That's a report that I compose to give the applicant some idea of where to go with this. Sometimes it's a stop, that this isn't going to work. We don't recommend you pursue this any further. Sometimes it's a conditional. This would work if you move over a little bit. If it overlaps with a mooring field or some other kind of other user group. we want to tease out, the best position in the area that might work for the lease. And then that goes back to the applicant. The applicant then puts in his full Category B application. Most importantly, that goes out to a 30-day public notice. So there are a number of other prerequisites that other agencies will weigh in, as you can see there. But during that 30-day public notice, the town, of course, has the opportunity to again comment on the application. And then you can see we need to, DEM needs to sign off. Army Corps of Engineers under our general permit will review the application, and that goes with consultation to NOAA, National Marine Fisheries Service will review it for potential interference with essential fish habitat or endangered species. And then, of course, Historical Commission in the Shellfish Advisory Panel, which is a advisory body to the Marine Fisheries Council, and we are statutorily required to hear their opinion before moving forward. And as you can see, as you get towards the bottom of the chart, there are two directions, one with objections, one with no objections. It just takes one objection during the 30-day public process to trigger the CRMC public hearing. And even though we say it's a 30-day public notice, we do accept comments pretty much right up until before the meeting. Those comments will be notated as coming in after the period, the public notice period, but we will still hear those. So at the public hearing, the town has again another chance to present its views, its possible concerns or endorsement of the project to the council itself, and then the council will make a decision for approval or denial. So that's it in a nutshell. As you can see, the town is really the first involved. That process was developed out of historical kind of concerns that towns had when, I'm talking maybe like 20 years ago, when aquaculture first started becoming more of an industry in Rhode Island. Towns were concerned about its proliferation, where would it go, and what their role was in it. We decided that the preliminary determination, it mirrors the same process we have for marinas. So it was kind of an established kind of protocol. We just adopted that for aquaculture. And, the goal is really to reach the town, and then for the town, hopefully to bring in, other stakeholders to that process. These meetings they're not public meetings, like I said, but they are open for all those concerned to come and speak. And then, of course, the town has the 30-day public notice, and at the hearing itself, the town may appear. So, as far as a memorandum of understanding is concerned,
Yes.
we only have one such MOU, and that's with the town of Charleston. To put that in perspective, the town of Charleston has probably over 80 acres of aquaculture, within its borders or within the town waters. Currently, Tiverton has 4 acres. And the memorandum of understanding with Charleston came about, I should say, after a lot of development had occurred there. There's been aquaculture in the town of Charleston since 1977. So there's a very old history with it. And the memorandum of understanding we have with Charleston is really focused on really one thing, and that is the GIS coordinate mapping of the leases, so that the harbor master knows where these leases are and knows where the corners of them are. And that has a lot of importance to the town of Charleston, because many of these aquaculture farms are on the washover fan on the northern side of the barrier island of where East Beach is, and Ninigret on the northern side. So many recreational users, need to have a thoroughfares or paths in between the leases to reach the backside of the beach, so they can go and recreate on the ocean side. It's worked out very well between the aquaculturists and the town there. I think they have a good understanding, and and most people, I think, would agree that they've been able to adapt that industry to the user groups there. So Tiverton, has a different, obviously different geography and currently a different level of aquaculture development. But I'm certainly willing to hear the town's concerns and questions tonight, and I will try to answer them as best I can.
Okay, Mr. Gage, this is Donna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm getting, I really would like to have the MOU and how do we go forward, because I would like what we have mentioned. I would like to have something on paperwork as far as when it says in here, the Coastal Resource Management Council in the town of Charleston shall, and it goes through some you said the GIS map. Well, we don't know how much growth there's going to be around the Tiverton area, and I'm very concerned about that, only because I would like something in place to protect the town's interests when and if that happens where there's more. One of the other things I find very important is the last one. It's got the bullet points. There's about 7. And I would like that for the town of Tiverton, because it's talking about fixed and floating structures. It's talking about type 2 waters or type 1, gear intensive aquaculture, heavy recreational use areas for protection, generators and lighting fixtures on aquaculture lease sites, and delegated or shared enforcement by CRM in the town of limit and the town with limited violations. I would really feel it would suit the town's best interest to have an MOU because of to protect the town's interests as we go forward. I really think it's important. So I don't know when we could have time to put this together, and if you're willing to help us do that, or do you have interest in helping us do that?
I think right now, if the town wants to, put together a letter outlining their concerns and the reasons for it, I think we certainly would consider that. What I tried to bring to the meeting tonight was an outline of our process and how the town is involved in the process. This is something that's the standard throughout the state that works very well. The MOU that we have with Charleston was necessary because there was quite a bit of development. The development in Tiverton is certainly not nearly as high. That's not to say you couldn't have future applications there, but they will go through the same process that involves the town. And currently right now, all applications are preliminary. During the preliminary determination, we work with the harbor master. So if there is, the harbor master and the harbor management commission, if there is a process that the town would rather us do, we'll work with whoever in the town wants to be part of the process. Towns often delegate these meetings and interest in the aquaculture to certain groups within the town, such as harbor management or conservation. So,
okay. Ben, I have a question. Can we go back to, we'll stop the screen sharing so I can get back to the gallery view of the counselors. Thank you. I am having a small problem with my video, but I'm here on audio. So let me open up to the council for some questions. Councilor Driggs, you have a question?
Yes, I do. I'm curious, Mr. Getch, is that how you say your name? Getch, sorry. So you mentioned the preliminary review involves the town and their stakeholders. Who are usually the stakeholders in town?
That depends on the town. Obviously, we work with a lot of recreational fishing groups. Those are the users of that public space. We contact the town to find out, who within the town would be most appropriate and knowledgeable of the use of those spaces. And we welcome all participation, to these meetings. Often, in Tiverton, the harbor management commission, that has been my that to me that is my point of contact. So if the town wishes for it to be otherwise, please let me know.
Okay, and so as I understand it, the issue is that property owners, people who own property on the water, their property just goes to whatever it is, the low, mean.
A high water mark.
Watermark. And then beyond that, that's state. Am I right?
Correct. It's public trust land. Yes, it's owned collectively by the citizens of Rhode Island.
So if an aquaculture business gets started off, as it seems, off somebody's the water that's off some property. First of all, is the access by these businesses to these aquaculture farms, does that have to be by water only, or do they now need to create easements to go across people's land to get out there, or how does that work?
Access is always an issue and topic of discussion for every application, and it's required that the applicant disclose how they plan on accessing the site. If they have private waterfront property, sometimes in some towns, very few instances this has ever happened, but it makes sense for them to access their farm from their shoreline. But that's typically not the norm. Most aquaculture farmers use a boat for many reasons.
And how deep does the water have to be before an aquaculture farm can take hold? Like, how far off the coast is it?
Well, again, it depends on the coast. There is all manner of techniques for growing oysters that are adapted to shallow water or deeper water, depending on the site. Generally, we have about 13 different criteria that we examine and that is part of the application that the applicant must answer in writing. And one of those has to do with, if the project will hinder public access to the shoreline or something like that. So generally speaking, these sites can be close to shore, but not right up on the shoreline.
I guess what I'm is if you have a property owner who has property that's on the water, and granted they don't own the space beyond what they own, but now there's an aquaculture farm. And so when this family used to go out and take their lasers out on the water to sail close to shore or even swim out to a float, that could be affected, could it not?
It can be, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other counselors that have a question or a comment? Mr. Cotta?
Ben, thanks for coming before us. I will say that your agency and our local harbor commission has worked very well hand in hand, especially this past year on working on some of the applications. Some of our bigger concerns were, as we went through that permitting process, were that there was I think there's one still under review near Sepauwett that was originally going to be allowed to come across the beachhead at Sepauwett.
That was the proposal.
And it's been, we did make comment about that and it has been rejected. The issue is allowing a commercial enterprise in a rural, non-commercial district. So it's fine. We don't care what you do well, we do care, but I mean, if you're gonna allow it in the water, our only requirement would be that they have to utilize a commercial dock and a commercial venue to take the product out of the water instead of coming over a beachhead or somebody's personal property.
Yes, DM has a similar concern with that as well, yeah. So, and as far as someone's personal property though, aquaculture is agriculture. So if a property is allowed to be used for agricultural purposes, they can use their property for the tending of their oysters. However, a residential dock cannot be used for the landing of commercial catch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys are very, very good about, working with us. You heard us out and you made some adjustments to that, which was fine. And I do know that you only have a very limited number of permits that you do have. The other issue that our local harbor commission had, and I think you rectified at the last meetings, where you have administrative permits that you can grant that don't always go through the full vetting hearing process. If you could at least keep our local harbor commission advised of those issues so that they can bring them forward to the public as well, it does help mitigate some of the issues as you go forward. So
yeah, and I will just add one word about that because it was not part of the flow chart that I presented. But there are types of aquaculture permits that are limited in time duration and in area. And these would be like the commercial viability application, which we saw in Anaquacket. So it's limited to 1,000 square feet and a maximum of 3 years. And they're only allowed to make a sale really once in that 3-year period of that product. So it's kind of it has a sunset to it. You can't renew it after those 3 years.
You're correct. As we went through this process, though, we found that one of those applications was actually right in the middle of a mooring field.
Exactly, and that's why we brought it to the town. And
that's why I asked that you continue to bring it to the Harbor Commission.
Yeah, so that's a great example of the process working. And it's not up to me to tell the applicant where is a good place for a farm, and I can give him my opinion. But he's ultimately the master of his own application.
Okay.
And if we bring it to a town and we find out it's in a mooring field, if he continues with that, he's going to have to expect that it's going to be denied. And that is, that's why we bring these things to the town early. It'd be great actually just if you guys have, the Harbor Management Commission shape, GIS files for your mooring fields. It'd be great resource for me to have to include that, if someone came to Tiverton,
I'll speak to the Harbor Commission about if they do have that to make sure that your office gets it as well. Okay?
Yeah, I'm actually looking, so that's how we want to work with the town. It's exactly a great example.
I don't think we have the layer, the GIS layer, and I'm not sure it's in the budget to have it created. So whether or not we could do it electronically, but certainly certainly I would think that the Harbor Management Commission could at least get a hard copy to CRMC that shows where the mooring fields are that are there. I do have one question, and I'm not sure at this point whether or not we need a memorandum of understanding, because I think the process is working fairly well as it is. But for example, in the Charlestown MOU, there is some discussion about things like lighting and other, hard structures. In your own requirements, is there any regulation around any of those kinds of things, or is each one sort of a one-off?
So I'll tell you, generally speaking, there is a stipulation to every in every modern aquaculture permit, because there's some old vestigial ones, but that there shall be no barges or vessels or floats moored on the lease unless you are actively there and working it. However, there has been an adoption of a new technology which involves floating gear. These types of installations you can see in Dutch Island Harbor in Jamestown and off of Rome Point in North Kingstown. These types of farms, we do often require that they have solar powered lighted corner markers. So, for a 3-acre farm, you're talking about, I should say it's usually only on the side of the lease that's away from the land, the seaward side, where traffic may be going, boat traffic. And these are simple. So you only have really 2 buoys, one at the top, one at the bottom, just to give mariners at night some indication that there is stuff there in the water. If the other common type of oyster farming is all underwater with submerged cages, and those might have some buoys at the surface, but don't really pose too much of a navigational risk. We don't require any lighting on those.
Thank you. Councilor Driggs?
I just have one other question. Is there a life expectancy to these farms in any way?
Well, the leases themselves are issued for 15 years, and that is the maximum statutory amount of time that we can lease it. Is renewable after 15 years. So in a way, there is no sunset provision for a particular oyster farm. That's not to say oyster farms come and go sometimes. Sometimes an applicant would may decide it's not a good spot, or they don't want to stay in the business.
The nature of oyster farming doesn't have a depletable supply.
No, it's actually incredibly sustainable. It's probably the most sustainable form of marine protein production we have. There's absolutely no inputs to it whatsoever, unlike salmon farming or other types of aquaculture you may be familiar with. There's no antibiotics, no feeds, nothing. The only byproduct of the operation is really cleaner water, and that's in clarity and also in the reduction of nutrients, because they filter feed and eat all the algae and phytoplankton that is fueled by nitrogen runoff from humans. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the council? Solicitor Marcello?
Thank you, Ben, for taking your time today. I appreciate it. Ben and I have been speaking and with Donna for the last 3 or 4 months. I guess the larger question for the council, not really dealing with Ben, but to the extent that the council believes an MOU is necessary, at some point we're going to need some guidance from you as to what you want to be in it. I think Ben, even though Charleston has it, I think with 80 acres compared to the 4 potential acres of Tiverton, it's definitely a different size difference. We only have 44 acres of, I guess, water acres, right? That where this could be possible, where Charlestown has a lot bigger, but it doesn't. So I guess size doesn't matter. But I guess I'm just trying to. There's a reason why I believe, based upon my conversations with Ben, and given the age of the history of aquaculture, why Charleston did have the need for an MOU. I will say, having reviewed the regulations and the process that was just outlined for you, there is plenty of time and effort. There's plenty of time and notice to the towns to give their input when they get a application to review, and that's proven by the fact that on the 2 commercial viability ones that were before CRMC, we did get notice. The Harbor Commission did submit comments. I believe Chris or I can't remember, submitted comments, and they were eventually rejected. But again, it's up to the council. I'll do anything you want, but I'm just going to need some guidance as to what the contents of that MOU may or may not look like.
I have to admit, I'm not sure that we need an MOU at this point, but I do think that I do think it might not be a bad idea to ask the Harbor Commission not only to provide CRMC things like our mooring fields, but to identify heavily used recreation areas and those kinds of things sort of proactively to CRMC, to Ben, so that he knows where they are. I think one of the things that happens here, Ben, is that, while we've got 15 miles or so of coastline, unfortunately, there's very little public access. A great deal of that land is, where the access is privately owned. So there are only a relatively small number of places where the public can really sort of access the water for recreation. And places like Nanaquacket Pond and the North Cove of Fogland are heavily used by not just recreational boaters, but, kayakers and swimmers and, people who want to take their kids tubing, and as well as in many cases, the shell fishermen, many of whom are commercial. So it does seem that often we run into conflicts where, the ideal spot in an applicant's mind for an oyster farm also happens to be one of the few places where, the public has access and significant enjoyment in also a, relatively, low surf area, right? Because, a lot of the other parts of the Secundit River, there might be a little public access point, but it's not a place you're going to take your kids to go swimming, So that I think seems to be part of the sticking. So maybe we could get the Harbor Management Commission to memorialize some of that. Maybe there are places that are suitable for this where that conflict wouldn't happen. And an applicant might be, a little bit steered in that direction before it gets to, further down the application process, which is then when everybody gets really, worried about it. Maybe that's a way to go forward with this.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I would welcome any input from the Harbor Management Commission. One thing in particular that I've noticed is that I have been able to kind of figure out where the delineated mooring fields are, but there are a lot of riparian moorings out there as well.
Yes.
Those are a little, harder to figure out where they are. So, that kind of information is great, and let me tell you, if someone brings an application to me for North Cove of Fogland or even Nanaquacket, I may tell them to think twice. It does go through a screening process as well with in-house, within CRMC, and often many of our other staffers are very knowledgeable of areas, certain areas. Many of them are, avid windsurfers or fly fishermen and other types of fishermen. So I get input, from everyone. Trust me.
I do have one other question about riparian rights. Obviously, if somebody's taken advantage of their, right to wharf and has a dock installed, for a homeowner that may not, they have the rights, but they haven't yet applied. Is there if there were a proposed oyster farm that potentially would interfere with their right to wharf, is there any notification to them?
Not necessarily. It's not a absolute right. The right.
Right. You obviously have to get CRMC permission, but
yeah.
We do have property owners who probably would qualify. They just, for whatever reason, haven't done it. And I was just curious, whether or not there was any notification to them. Should somebody choose to be putting in an oyster farm in a place where they might be eligible to put a dock.
Yeah. So generally speaking, the farms would be sited, just practically speaking, for the most part, far enough off the shore, at least on the Secundit River, just knowing what I know about it. They wouldn't want to be up close on the shore like that, and I think it would allow enough room for someone to put out a dock. If it's a question of, where they're going to put, if they wanted to put a mooring out there, well, they might have to put the mooring on the different side of the farm or find a spot, that makes sense. But no, so we do encourage applicants to notify potential, landowners that might be impacted. It's not a requirement of the program, but it's something I do stress to them, because if you're really serious about this operation and making it work, you're going to have to be a good neighbor, and it kind of starts in the beginning. That's not to say some people just are going to object to it no matter what, even if they can't see it. But
right.
It's a balancing act. It always is. Every application is different.
Councilor DiMederos?
Hi, I noticed Bruce Cox is in the waiting room. Does he have anything to say that he'd like to offer
does.
since he's the head of the Harbor Commission?
Hang on, he does have his hand up, so. Bruce, can you hear us?
He's muted.
I know. Bruce, there you go.
Here I am. Like, there we go.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Hi. Yeah, coastal does not have any abutter requirement that you experience in any other development process in the state on land. And that's sort of a real shortfall of the program. I mean, you do have people that are on the water paying substantial money, and you know, the general basis, if you are in type 2 waters or better meaning higher number, better for purposes of recreation and such, you are able to apply. You have to get permission from coastal to put out a dock. You're allowed to go 50 feet from the mean low water line out to at least 18 inches of water. And if you can't get 18 inches of water at mean low water at low tide, they'll administratively give you another 25 feet. And if a site is placed too close to a dock, and let's pretend you don't need the extension because you have good water. I have good water at the end of my dock. I have 4 feet at low tide. But if someone put a oyster farm, say 50 feet from my dock, that would be make access to my dock borderline meaningless if the farm stretched too far longitudinally along the length of the property. So I really would think that a memorandum of understanding, while not necessarily needed, it wouldn't hurt to have the obligation for the applicant to say, okay, it's not hard. You go to the zoning map, your tax map, and say, who owns these lots? And those people get specific notice. They are direct butters. They do have riparian rights, admittedly needing to get coastal's permission. But if someone's not there, I mean, I happen to live in a row of a bunch of snowbirds, two people on either side. They're gone in this winter time. So an applicant timing it right, those people would not even necessarily see the news or be able to attend. So a written notice and the mail being forwarded to the people, I don't think is much to ask. If the person's asking for an agriculture farm, and I support agriculture, I think it's a good thing, but properly placed. I mean, the Winnisimmet project is a classic example, and I will be talking with the harbor master and whatnot about getting the coordinates for the moorings that he has on record to you, as well as, and I think that actually is online on our website, but I'm not certain, as well as seeing if I can get the hard copies of the mooring fields to you. We're working on upgrading our harbor management plan. We were right in the thick of it in February, and then we all know what hit. And we're trying to figure out how we meet and screen share, because we have some very talented technical people in that regard. So yeah, the coastal has been responsive. They were, anytime we get notices, and the chairman of the Harbor Commission Plan, whether it be, or the Harbor Management, is the CRMC contact for the town, whether it be myself or somebody else in the future. And Jeannie has been very good about sending forward any notices they get, but Coastal also sends them to me, which is good. I immediately share it. And anytime we needed a little extension, they give it. It's been very decent. But as you know, I'm sure Ben's watched the hearing we had on the pond application. Is significant. He's absolutely right. That's, to go into the pond is to you know, play Don Quixote.
It wasn't the first time it happened either. I mean, there was an application for Nanaquacket over 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that had the same reaction.
That's correct.
Well, possibly, you know, the Harbor Management Commission, you know, could take this on a little bit and see about addressing the riparian issue. And then, you know, the council could determine whether or not, you know, we we would like to or could include something like that in an MOU, just so that a property owner, was aware of something, if it was going to be located in an area that, potentially precluded their ability to have a dock or access.
Mooring, right, and reasonable access to the water, right.
Right. Anybody else from the council?
Yes, it's Donna. Did you want to go, Nancy?
Yeah, Donna.
I just wanted to say that, Bruce, that's exactly my concern that you expressed. Go ahead, Donna.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, I just want to know how to go forward with this, what the council thinks. Personally, I would like the Harbor Commission involved in an MOU and for the riparian rights issue. Some of the other issues that they might feel that need to be in an MOU. And so I just want to know, and also the solicitor, how does the council want to go forward with this?
I personally think that I defer to ask the Harbor Management Commission to, come back to the council with any recommendations that they have. They're closest to it, and there may be things that they feel like the process works just fine right now, but something like this. So I think maybe we could ask the Harbor Management Commission to let the council know what their concerns are, because I think they're probably absolutely the best qualified to advise the council on what, if anything, is needed. Would that be all right with you, Bruce?
Absolutely. I'm putting together the October agenda. My September agenda got washed aside with professional complications. But no, I've been taking notes during this meeting.
Okay.
Right.
Other members of the council, are we comfortable with that, or?
I'm fine with that. I just sort of shepherding this to get it moving and to protect what needs to be protected in Tiverton. That's all I'm concerned with, getting it moving forward, bringing it to the council's attention, bringing education to the council, and using the expertise of the Harbor Commission also.
All right. Well, Ben, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it tonight, and it's been very informative.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Okay, so we're moving on to item B, which is the DPW Director and Town Administrator request extension of McGeo's Turf Management Inc. contract to 12/31/21 as per attached contract section 1B. So Chris and Director Anderson?
No, Rick Rogers.
I'm sorry, Rick Rogers. Oh, God, don't mind me.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a long day today.
Rick, are you here?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you fine.
Sorry about that, Rick.
No problem.
I'm a little slow tonight.
Yes. DPW does request to extend William McGeo's Turf Management Incorporated contract to 12/31/21 as per the attached form and contract. This year, ending December 31st, 2020, is the first of 2 allowable contract extensions. For the second of 2 contract extensions allowed per his original contract, which expired December 31st, 2019.
Does anyone from the council have a question? John?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to grant the extension of McGeo's Turf Management Incorporated contract to 12/31/21 as per the attached.
Okay, I'll see if there's a second, and then if there's any discussion, because I think Donna mentioned something. Is there a second?
I'm sorry, Denise.
Hang on
I
one
didn't mean to
second,
talk
Donna.
over
Let me
you.
just see if I get a second. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second discussion. Donna, you had a question?
No, it's just a question to find out why was it just discovered that that we needed to update the contract?
No, Donna, it's a contract that runs through December 31st, 2019, that was extended for 1 year as allowed in the contract to December 31st, 2020. So this would be to extend it. We're just trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit by doing it early. This would expire 12/31/2021, and that's the second and last allowable contract extension.
Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions or comments? In that case, Counselor Clark,
Yes.
Counselor Driggs, Nancy? Are you a yes?
Yes.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos?
Yes.
Counselor Perry?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. Item C.
Thank you.
Yep, don't go anywhere, right? DPW Director Rogers and Town Administrator request permission to advertise for snowplow contractors for 2020-2021 season. Rick?
Yes, DPW does request that, as you said, Tricia. And what we do is we'd like to advertise it in the newspapers such as the Newport Daily Herald, the Fall River Herald, the Secana Times, and then of course we would post it on the town website and on the Newport bidding website, which is a website used by various municipalities to advertise for bids and notices.
Do I have a motion? John?
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to grant the administrator permission to advertise for the snowplow contractors for the 2020 to 2021 season.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? In that case, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Clark,
Yes.
Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Thank you again.
You are totally welcome. Item D, Town Administrator, request extensions of contract between the Town of Tiverton and Ronald Helger, DBA Helger's Landscape, for 2 one-year extensions through April 30, 2022, without rate increase from May 1st, 2020, for Pocasset Cemetery service as allowed by contract.
So this was kind of an oversight that it got by us a little bit during this COVID stuff. His contract has come to an end. He did work throughout with the same rates that he had under the contract. I did speak to the Cemetery Commission. They're in favor of it. I did speak to Mr. Helga. He is willing to keep his prices the way that they are on the contract. I would recommend, based on the rates from what I've seen, that to extend them for 2 years to continue on with his good work and the low rates that he provides on behalf of the town.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Ron Helga's contract as a member of as a liaison to the Cemetery Commission. Ron does an exceptionally well job. So I think that he's an asset to the cemetery.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any other questions or comments? In that case, Counselor Clark,
Yes.
Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Item E, Town Administrator Cotta, approval of appointment of Bruce Reimels as Tiverton Fire Chief and ratification of a 3-year contract commencing September 28th, 2020 and ending September 27th, 2023. Is Bruce with us?
Yes, hang on, just let me pull him up.
He's in the waiting room.
Okay. So let me give you a little bit of a history on where we were, how we get to where we are, and how I just lost myself. How did I do that? Here we go. So we did seek permission to go out to bid, seek applicants, which was done. We received, I believe it was 8 applicants. I did seek the advice of the fire chief in Bristol and Little Compton, along with 2 members of the personnel board. We did a, what would you call a pre-screening? And we went through their credentials, their information they provided. And we listened to the 2 fire chiefs, and they recommended shortlisting to 5 people. So we put those 5 individuals before the town personnel board. They scheduled interviews along with myself. And they in turn provided a ranking to me. And then I have gone through a very deliberative process with the candidate who was, in my opinion, the best candidate was Bruce Reimels. It's been a little bit of a task to bring somebody who is a long-standing, very good, actually a very, very good member of the fire department, and has done an excellent job as your acting up through now. It would be almost 12, I think it is 12 months over 2 cycles. He's demonstrated the ability that he can manage that department. He has the respect of all the staff, and he's extremely knowledgeable about how that department's supposed to work. So somebody who has the breadth of tenure with where he is within the department, the largest sticking point was trying to deal with something that Bruce and his family have worked at to protect themselves. He's attained pension benefits. So to be as candid with you as I can, to have him step away from the union, he would lose all his protection related to those pension benefits. So we had to get somewhat creative on how to craft a package together that both recognizes him, because I do believe he is the best candidate for this job, but also to protect the interest of everything he's done and accumulated while working tirelessly on behalf of Tiverton for his entire career. So I know that, I did provide a financial analysis as to where he was and where he would be. He's agreeable to all the terms in the contract that we've have worked on. We have both worked with Labor Council to get to where we are. And I think it's a prudent thing to do to try to bring somebody up from within the department. So I don't know what questions you might have, but I'll be willing to get to them the best way I can.
I have a question when it's my turn, I guess.
Okay, so so John has had his hand up. So let me get to John, and then I'll get to Donna. And Denise just texted me that she lost her connection and is trying to get back in. So, John.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion if that's acceptable at this moment, and then we can dive into discussion.
Okay, so I have a motion. Is there a second?
Oh, sorry. Let me actually make the motion.
Second.
So the motion would be to approve the appointment of Bruce Reimels as Tiverton Fire Chief, and ratify the 3-year contract commencing September 28th, 2020 and ending September 27th, 2023.
There's a motion in a second.
I just want to say that I've lost connection almost constantly. I didn't hear a thing Chris said. It's okay, but just for the record, I didn't hear it. So I'm back on, but it's very staticky. I don't know what's wrong with my internet.
Okay,
but I noticed people keep disappearing the way I am. My video goes right out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with Zoom tonight. Councillor Driggs.
I just wanted to reassure Councillor DiMederos that what was said by Chris Carter was actually in the handout that he gave to all of us. So there was nothing new if you read what.
Yeah, I did, Nancy. Thank you so much. Because when Chris started talking, I lost it.
Okay.
It happens a lot with people.
Councillor Cook, I think you had a question.
Yeah, my question is, so with a lot of contracts is when someone leaves a union position and goes to a management position, and I don't know if it's in their contract, you're allowed, if it doesn't work out, to go back within the year to your position. It's just a question. I was just wondering, because it seems to be that, and I really, I mean, I don't blame it at all that he wouldn't want to lose what he has, but do we have that in the contract where someone can take a management position and go back within the year and return if it doesn't work out?
It is not outlined in the contract, in the IAFF contract. And I will say, because that was another part of this process, I did speak with members of the executive board for the fire department. And one of Bruce's concerns, and also mine, was brought to my attention, was that, and they would be willing to probably do an MOU of some sort, but it would be, in our view, it would be wholly inappropriate to ask the union to provide an MOU for a union member to be named chief. It would, not that I think that they would ever hold it over his head, but it could be used that somehow, but for some MOU, he would have never gotten a position. So that was another sticking point in trying to resolve some of the issues of getting him from where he is, a longstanding captain with the department, an excellent employee, but trying to do the right thing of, promoting from within. It was a little bit difficult. And I will say that the union executive board has been extremely supportive of this maneuver to make Bruce chief as well.
But it's very easily and remedied by having that kind of language within a contract, any of the contracts, to allows then for someone to develop their career and to move up. And if it doesn't, I mean, maybe they don't like it, and they want to go back to what they were doing.
Correct.
So it's only within a 1-year time frame that they can do that. I was just wondering, I guess we don't have it, so it's just, yeah, it was a very usual structural thing in the contracts when I was a flight attendant. So anyway, I was just wondering.
No, we didn't have it, and we tried to find a workaround to make it amenable for both the town and for
Well,
Bruce.
I think it should be in the next contracts.
I'm
I
not
think
disagreeing.
it's good for career development, and that no one should be penalized because they want to move up, and they shouldn't be penalized if they decide that they don't like it, which can happen, that they can go back.
I agree.
Counselor Edwards, you had your hand up.
Yes, not a question, actually more just a comment, because I didn't mention this in my motion, but I wanted to thank Chief Reimels for stepping in and doing the job as the interim, and then doing a fantastic job. And I'm very excited that he's going to be the next fire chief. So I'm very pleased as well that, we've looked to promote from within. And I think that creates a very positive culture for us as an organization. Much the same way that we promoted from within on the police department side. So I'm happy that Chief Reimels is willing to take this step and to take the department reins over. So I look forward to seeing what he's able to do with it.
Thank you. Medeiros?
I just want to kind of reiterate what John's saying, but also saying that Bruce has done this job for about a year now, on and off, and I've been witness to it over the years. He's done an outstanding job. Not only that, the morale of the department is very much stabilized when Bruce is in charge. I have gotten a couple of comments from people on the fire department that are all for Bruce. I like to thank him because all the times that we've asked him to do it, he stepped right up. He's done an excellent job. He just goes right into the job. And I see no reason why this would be a problem for him. And he certainly knows what the job entails. And it'll probably be much easier for him to do it now when he's in full command. Thank you.
There we go. I too would like to express my gratitude to Bruce for the, for how really wonderful he's been about stepping up every time we've needed him. And it seems like we've needed him a lot. He's done a wonderful job, but I'm sure he would like us to take an official vote on this. So unless there are any other comments, I'll go to a roll call.
I'd like to make one comment.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah,
Joe?
I've seen Bruce come up through the ranks from when he got on up until today, and he's done an outstanding job, always excelling in everything he's tried to do over the years. And I want to commend him and wish him the best.
Okay, well then let's go ahead and make this official. Counselor Clark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Driggs?
Yes.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos?
Yes.
Counselor Perry?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. Bruce, congratulations. On your
Congratulations,
appointment
Bruce.
Thank you
as
very much.
Tiverton's new fire chief.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Looking forward to the next 3 years.
There we go. Unfortunately, with the COVID thing, I'm not sure exactly what we do about your ceremony, but we'll do something.
I'll have him sworn in tomorrow, but we will definitely try to get
Like swear him in now, Nancy, right now while we have him.
Before he changes his mind. Bruce, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, Bruce.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item G, DPW Director Rogers. I think.
No, we missed, we skipped over one.
That's all right.
Oh. Yes, we did skip over one, and Chief Reimels.
I'm not gonna get away that easy.
No, and Chief Reimels, don't go anywhere. This will be your first official act. Item F, the fire department overtime reports and status of per diems, August 2020, continued from our last meeting. Okay.
I'm hoping that this schedule or spreadsheet system provides much more clarity than the last one did, and that having it color coded and identifying where the buckets, because it is complicated. There are a lot of different things that cause overtime. So knowing how it gets caused and how we keep track of it, and what the staff is doing a very good job of trying to keep a handle on it so that we are staying in tune with where we are. So I know that you wanted something that was a little bit better in our presentation. We're kind of hoping that this provides it for you. I don't know, what kind of questions you'll have at the moment, but I just wanted to at least say the staff has worked very hard to get at least to this format.
Denise?
Chris, it's much easier to read, and it points out what you feel is management and what you feel is union responsibility. The only thing that I'm concerned about, and I know that these summer months that are outlined are our heaviest vacation time, we're already up to 826, which 82,000, which we do have in this budget, 150,000 in overtime. So we're more than halfway there. I just hope that we're very conscious of that and try to keep this as low as we can. Because I counted up all non-management and it came out to 82,000. Am I wrong?
No, you have to use the cumulative totals. Not it's so.
Well, then I guess I don't understand it.
Yeah, because we're not, so let me take you by the first, the easiest way to do this is start in July. So it's, I guess it would be page 3 of, because
Okay.
July is obviously the beginning. So you'll see the first pay period, which is July 16th, the first pay date, I should say, applied for the period July 1 through July 6th. And I know that that's a short pay period because it's only for the fiscal year. Whatever happens prior to that, that was in that July 16th payroll was actually credited out and put in FY 2020. So it's only for what is attributed to FY 2020. So these are the overtime hours for that particular pay period, the total overtime. And you can see that was all broken out and it is all departmental overtime.
Right,
So it's
which is 2,600.
So if you take that gray column and the top where for the July 16th and follow down to July 30th, you'll see that it gets added to what happened in the next pay period.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's accumulating.
All right, that's what's confusing. Okay.
It is somewhat confusing, but it's really, for those two pay periods, the total is $12,000. 12,000 change, so, well, actually 13, I guess. Yeah, it would be 13.
All right, I understand it now. I'm much happier with that figure.
Oh, no, it's far less than 82,000.
Yeah, I know, because you can see what I was
Give me
doing,
a heart
right?
attack.
You can see what I was doing, right?
Yes.
Though,
No,
and I
so-
didn't mean cumulative.
So
Okay.
if you go to where we are today at the end of, August, the August 24th pay period,
Right.
it's a total of, what, 52,000? 28 of it is, administrative, and 24 of it is related to the union. So
Well, then I'd like to say congratulations for keeping it down.
Yes.
we have our issues with it, believe me.
Well,
Yeah. Our biggest issue is our family medical, which is something that it's an entitlement that we cannot track by saying you get so many days. I mean, they do get to use their time and we have a very young department and they are having babies. So that it is causing us a little bit of angst. And the quicker, we do have a hire coming on board to take care of the one firefighter vacancy. We just resolved one of our biggest firefighter vacancies by hiring a chief, which will mitigate that issue as well. And the other big issue on the administrative side was disciplinary issue for the employee that we had to let go, that we had him on administrative leave. So there are some issues that, that we have taken on the administrative side that are really not the cause at all of the staff. And that's why we're trying to make that picture for you so you can follow really what's happening. So, and you can see on the department side, it's the family medical leave that's driving us a little bit crazy. But I know it's 42 cents over, but we are on track. At the rate that we're going, we're at 96,000 for the year for the department side, which is a little bit under where we're projecting. We would like to see that number better than where it is. Both Bruce and I will be meeting with the union in this coming week because that's what's obligated by the contract. And we will have some discussions about how we can try to mitigate some of these issues moving forward so that we can not have two people out at the same time if we can at all get around it. So we're both working very hard at trying to do that, but we thought it was very important that you could actually see what actually causes it on a 2-week basis.
This is really, this spreadsheet is great.
Yeah.
It's much easier to understand. Are there any other questions from the council? Nope. The last thing, well, I have two questions. So we have one vacancy that's about to be filled.
Yes.
And then Bruce is stepping up as chief creates another vacancy, correct?
A captain position.
That's correct.
Right, but that will be somebody coming up internally, so we'll have one more.
We've actually created the captain's list, and there is somebody acting in his position while he's the acting chief. So I'm assuming Bruce will make a recommendation to make that slot permanent. And we'll at the end, we'll have a vacancy at the very beginning of a new firefighter.
Okay.
Correct,
And
Bruce? Correct?
and
I don't know if Bruce can hear me.
I can.
okay.
I just wanted to, that's correct, right? We'll have a vacancy after.
Yeah, so we had the vacancy from the firefighter that left. We just filled that. The guy that's filling that vacancy actually started today. He's comes from us from another department. So we don't have to train him how to be a firefighter or an EMT. He comes with a lot of experience. So he's gonna be in, he's gonna be doing days for like 2 weeks just to learn the Tiverton department and, Tiverton itself. And then he'll be able to go right on the shift. The vacancy that was just created a few minutes ago, hopefully will be filled. It will be filled as soon as possible. We are in the middle of creating a list. We have a couple, 4, I believe, people that applied for lateral transfers. We'll be looking at those very carefully and hopefully filling my vacancy very shortly. And that'll bring us up to full staffing.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
So the only other comment I would provide is that we are also looking diligently at the per diem process, and we have advertised for it. We have had a number of candidates apply for it. We believe that we're probably going to have one viable candidate that can actually perform the services without any interruption or that we're fully confident with. Bruce is still in the middle of seeking out information on the other three candidates. Two of them didn't look very good to start with. They didn't have any firefighting experience whatsoever. And I think the last one, you're still in your deliberate process of determining whether or not they might be able to provide services for us. But those would only be on limited, very, very limited basis of being used.
I just have a question.
Go ahead, Donna.
Isn't there a minimum standard for the per diem? I
Yes.
thought there was.
Yes, and we
Well,
advertise that.
So they applied and they had no firefighter experience? How does that work out?
So they're
I
in a
mean-
big department and all they're doing is rescues. Even though they are qualified for that big department, they may not necessarily have the breadth of experience that is needed.
I get it. Okay. And the captain's position, how does that go, Bruce? Does it go by seniority and a test, or does it just go by
So
seniority?
there's a testing process, a promotional testing process that was done, that gets done for the all promotions from lieutenant, captain, etc. That process has been done. I believe that was done in January.
Okay.
So we do have the list in place. The gentleman, the lieutenant, Josh Ferrer, that's stepped up and was acting captain, will be promoted to full-time captain, and then his lieutenant spot will have to be filled also. But that whole promotional process is already done. So the firefighter that's in that position now as acting lieutenant will be made a full-time lieutenant, and then which brings us to the vacant firefighter position, which I was speaking of a minute ago. That will be filled as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Chris and Bruce. So now we are back to DPW Director Rogers. Request approval as pay-as-you-throw trash bag holiday beginning Saturday, December 26th and ending Thursday, December 31st, 2020. Rick?
Yes, please. That is what DPW requests, Tricia. Thank you.
And I'm sure we're all familiar with this. They're standard pay-as-you-throw holiday period amnesty. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request for the pay-as-you-throw trash bag holiday beginning Saturday, December 26th, and ending Thursday, December 31st, 2020.
Second.
I'm going to guess there's no discussion. This is something, okay. Counselor Clark?
Yes.
Counselor Driggs?
Yes.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos?
Yes.
Counselor Perry?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes.
And I am a yes.
Thank you all again.
Thank you, Rick. Announcements, comments, and discussions. Item A, Town Council President Hilton joint workshop with the Planning Board, October 8th at 7 p.m. Just a reminder that we have that workshop scheduled. And I do believe that the planner is working on some presentation for us as well. So make sure you put that on your calendar. Item B, Town Solicitor Justin Katz versus the Tiverton Library Board of Trustees, Superior Court, number NC 2020-0254. Mike?
Thank you. I was notified, I believe, through our Labor Council, actually, that this case has been filed, and it was filed. I looked it up. I sent it on to the library board since I did not represent them, and I do not represent them. However, since that time, I guess they contacted Mr. Cotter, and asked if I could represent them. So I don't know if Chris wants to add to that, but I guess it's up to the council as to how you want to handle it. The case has been filed, but no one has been served yet, as far as I know.
Counselor Drakes.
I have a general question. A few years ago, when Don and I brought a charter complaint, the library claimed they had their own counsel, that they were not part of the town.
Yeah.
Then the town attorney didn't represent them. So how does that square with what's happening right now? I don't get it.
I think that's generally been the practice in the town. I honestly think it's being driven by money. I think I'm cheaper than the counsel that they previously hired to defend the last complaint. So I think it's just a financial issue for them.
I think the library board believes that the solicitor may have more knowledge about this, or that the town's solicitor, and it may have predated you, Mike. I don't know. I didn't read the complaint. I don't know how old it is or what the facts are behind it, but it may have been that our town solicitor may have had some connection to this early on, and I think they might believe that our solicitor would have more information. It would be easier to facilitate the litigation on this moving forward than it would be to bring somebody new into it. I believe that's their thought, but that's.
Can I just add again? I just think it's sort of weird because they couldn't have been more strong that they were not, it had nothing to do with the town in terms of their entity, and they had their own attorney, period. So I just get it.
Counselor DiMederos.
Of course, I was back there then. Our solicitor felt that it was a conflict of interest to represent the library because he represents the town. You're right, Nancy, that's what he decided. At the time, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not they were a separate entity to us and whether or not they needed another counselor. I will have to tell you that in the past, Attorney Jim Donnelly has always represented them, and that was their counselor at the time. But I have to tell you that it was a huge discussion. I remember it being in the auditorium, and our solicitor at the time, that I believe was Tony DeSisto, said that he felt that it was a conflict of interest because he doesn't work for the library. He works for the town council. And that's what was decided at the time. And that was the legal opinion we gave at the time.
I have a question for the solicitor or for Chris. Is the library looking to engage Mr. Marcello separately? In other words, not as town solicitor, but as a solicitor that they're engaging, and they would be paying for the litigation costs?
I'll double check that, but I believe that they thought that it would be being covered under the town solicitor structure, which I did talk to Mike about this. I don't, think that would be appropriate. Mike has a budget to deal with the things that we do with for the town council and for the town. If they were at all to engage with him, it would have to be to pay his services for the time and rate that Mike would want to bill at, separate from what he would do for a solicitor.
It does seem to me that if based on the complaint, and I don't know the details of the complaint, but based on the complaint, that the library board could ask Mr. Marcello to determine whether or not, based on the complaint, there would be any conflict of interest. And if there's no conflict of interest based on the complaint, that they could hire Mr. Marcello and his firm, but that it wouldn't come under the town's agreement with the solicitor who represents the town, and the library is an independent board. Denise?
Trish, I might be mistaken, and we certainly could look this up, but I think at the time, the complaint was double-sided. I think there was something against the town also, or the town clerk.
Oh, okay.
So the more I'm thinking about this, but I mean, we could easily look this up. I think that he felt that he couldn't represent both, or there was some kind of reasoning where he thought that he would have to represent the town in that issue also. That's what I think, but I certainly can look it up. Nancy, you might be able to answer this
I
better.
can. I don't think that there was anything about the clerk. That whole charter complaint had to do with the library putting political information out before a campaign. It was solely the library. And they said we are, and DeSisto said it too, they're not under our auspices and they're a separate entity and they had their own council, period. There was
They have their
no,
own budget. Yeah.
they had their own
So,
budget.
but I do think that we'll leave it to, I think there's an understanding that the library is a separate entity and they are responsible for their own litigation, whether or not they could separately hire Mr. Marcello and his firm if the solicitor felt there were no conflict of interest to the town. I'll leave that to the solicitor and Chris to sort out. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Denise?
I also think at the time, Nancy, that they weren't looking to hire Tony either. They were asking us to let him work. Right, but they were asking them to let him work for us, work for them, and it would just be in the salary that he gets from the town. I don't think there was a question that they wanted to hire him separately.
There was not, you're right. I mean, they absolutely said we have nothing to do with the town. The town has no authority over us. We're a separate board and we're run by the state and the state mandate, and we have our own attorney, and they had their own attorney.
Well, I think that's what we're essentially saying here, but they could hire and, pay the fee of Mr. Marcello's firm and him if that's what they chose, as long as the solicitor didn't think there was a conflict based on the case.
We would have to run a legal conflict. Based on the complaint, I don't think there would be a conflict, because it's a separate entity. It would be no different than me representing, a corporation that lives, that happens to operate out of Tiverton, but we can look at that. But I guess it was an issue of, I think Chris needs to resolve for me or with them, whether they intended it to come out of your fee, meaning the council's fee, or whether I can bill them separately if they still want to hire me. So
I'll get that resolved tomorrow, but that's.
Thank you.
It can't come out of municipal side. It has to come out of their own budget. That's why they have their own budget. That's why they have board of trustees. They're a separate, little town within themselves. They can't use any of our monies. They can't. They get the grant and that's it. And I think there's a board or someone to go to find out if there is a conflict, for lawyers to go to see if there's a problem with it. Is there not?
My firm would have to run an internal conflicts check amongst all our clients, and then if I felt there was an issue that to be resolved, I could go to a board for advice, the disciplinary council for advice. But I don't think it's not necessarily the case here.
All right. So I think that there's some resolution on this. We'll go to the town clerk. Nancy, an update on the September 26th FTR.
So we had essentially 4 days of voting on this. I believe the total votes were like 228, maybe. And I don't have all the figures and everything together, and we have not certified it yet. But as soon as everything is together and we get the rest of the bills in, I will do a little report on how much it costs and whatever.
Hey,
that's all I have.
228?
I'm sorry.
Did you say 228?
Yes.
228
ballots were cast.
Yes. And I will just yet
And
again.
of that, I want to tell you that 84 of them and 91 of them were mail ballots. So almost half as many people are voting by mail.
Yeah. Which again, we talked about this before. I will point out that, $14,000 for an election when there's no choice other than to vote yes, and 228 people participate is a little pricey. Town clerk, update on November 3rd, 2020 general election.
So this election for November 3rd is really keeping us busy there. They're going to start with emergency voting on October 14th. That will take place at the town hall from 8:30 in the morning till 4, Monday to Friday. The doors will be open for voting. You need just walk in. And there's the proper machine. So it's the full process. You will be sign in on the poll pad. You can go to a privacy booth and fill out your ballot, and you will put it in the DS200 voting machine. Now, we are in the process. We've been, communities have been working with the Board of Election, and due to this COVID pandemic, we will not be opening 7 polls as we usually do. Number one, some of our poll locations are not comfortable with us running elections from them. They're elderly gated communities or churches. And so we have been approved tentatively. They're going to do the official approval by the end of the week from the Board of Canvass. We will be using the VFW. We're not combining districts, but we are consolidating locations due to the fact that we can't get enough poll workers, and the locations that we have are somewhat difficult. This is across the state. This is not just Tiverton, but we will be using the VFW for precincts 3301 and 3302. We will be using Ranger School for districts 3303, 3304, and 3305. And we will be using the high school for the south end districts of 3306 and 3307. Now, 6 and 7 have been utilized from the high school before, so that shouldn't be alarming to anyone. And 1 and 2 have been combined at VFW before. The Ranger School handles 3304 anyway, but 5 and 3 will be joined there. They'll have their own ballots, their own district ballot. We're not combining the districts, just the poll location. Because last year, when it wasn't a presidential election and it was just a regular general election, we had a total of 64 poll workers. We're having difficulty getting poll workers. Most of our poll workers are elderly and they do not want to work in crowds. Now, I will say we are getting a lot more mail ballot applications. That does not mean that they're going to follow through with voting a ballot, it's just the application. So all I can do is keep you informed. We'll be doing a lot of advertising for it. We'll be sending out some letters to some districts that will be for this election only, voting in a different building. The reason we could put 3 in Ranger is because District 3305 only has 400 and some eligible voters in it. And we typically don't even get 100 votes from there. So we were able, and 3304 and 3303 are both smaller districts. The state will not let us put more than 6,000 eligible. It doesn't matter how many returned mail ballot applications. So they monitor it closely. We have to put whatever added poll workers we can into those locations. So all I can tell you is we're working on it every day. The batches of mail ballots are coming in. We've already processed over 2,400 mail ballots for the November election.
Good.
So that's, I mean, that office is really, really busy with this. We will, though we assist, which we save some money on this FTR, we assist with the emergency and the absentee voting as best we can. So I'll keep you informed and we will do our best to inform the voters. That's
Okay.
all we can do.
Thank you, Nancy. And that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda for this evening. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
do I-
And that,
There's a second. I'm sorry, Nancy, you wanted to
Could
say?
we just remember that Wednesday night, council has a special meeting. I just want to remind you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, Wednesday night. There's a motion in a second. I'll take a by hand and voice vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Yay?
Aye.
I think the ayes have it.